Hi, I'm Dave and I'm outside working on my 98 Altezza. We're going to reinvent the wheel yet again. I want to pull two wires out of here so that I can run an oil temp sensor. You've seen me do this before, so I don't know how much I should actually film. Just turn the camera back on if I start to rage, which might happen fairly soon. Anyone would think I like redoing my own work, but I don't. This down-pull throttle linkage from SQ Engineering is in the way. I don't even know what color I'm going for, to be honest. Now it's going to be one of, or two of these. Now it's time to go into the service manual and have a look. Well, we're messing with this again. I forget for the most part how it comes apart, so I'm just sort of pulling at it. Come with me. So according to this, we've got the throttle position sensor here, and the blue and yellow wire connects over to the axle position sensor. And we don't have the axle position sensor anymore, that's gone because we're using ITBs. So this blue and yellow wire, which is this one here, we can just pull it back through. There we go. That will be 5 volts for our sensor. So we just need to move that over to here. Now if I was to swap that out for a different plug with the same pins, I could just run this to there, and I mean it's more complicated, but that's really slick. Right, so there's our 5 volts. We need our sensor ground, which I think will be one of these brown ones here. I wonder what it went to. Probably to this, the axle position sensor. If we pull that through, that'll give us our sensor ground. We need AN volt 4, which is the red wire. We've only got one red wire left. It's this one. There we go. Those are the 3 wires we need for an oil temp sensor. Now we need to connect a pull-up resistor between these two at some point. It could be down the end, it could be up the top, it doesn't matter, just needs to happen. I've got my PC out here because if you really want to know what's going on, you're going to need this book because you're going to need the diagrams. You're going to need this book because you need to know what all the pinouts are and what they do now. And you need this to figure out how everything's set up. So if you go into ECU settings, you can see that AN temp 1 is whatever, but the thing that I'm concerned about is AN volt 2 is APS. I don't have an axle position sensor anymore, so I don't understand why that's there. I have ITBs, this tune is for ITBs. The person that made this tune just didn't remove it. What do the rest of these do? Can I get rid of that, cut it off at the other end so it's gone? So the blue and white, that's AN volt 2. I should label all this shit, shouldn't I? I have deduced that this big fat green wire here is for the throttle motor. And according to the link instructions, I can't use it really for anything other than a throttle motor. So I'm going to depin it from the ECU and then just remove it from here. Get rid of it. One less thing to wrap up over there. Yep, we're going in here again. Now I need to figure out which one it is. P9. So P is the larger of the two. This one here. Unwrap this shit. It's looking at the thing, isn't it? It's that one there. P9. All this just to neaten up one wire. Well, it's not really going to be one wire. It's probably going to be several, but still. Do you need to do this now? Not really. This is all perfect. And now I'm redoing it. More perfecter. It actually ran before. Will it run after I do all this? Who knows? Do you know why I added so much tape? That was a genuine question, do you know? Because I don't. Actually found some wires under all of this tape. So much tape. Here we go. She's coming. She's a-coming. There we go. Got her out of there. That's one. That's 2. Done. Removed. What else have I got in here that I don't need? What about a straight up yellow wire? Well, I mean, I could find it here and that would make it easier over there. Should we do that? Probably. You've seen me do this before. It's just continuity. So you don't need to watch me do this again. I've discovered that the yellow wire in question is O1. O1 is here as EVG, yellow wire. Now the problem is, when you go to my little link book, O1 isn't there. So who knows what it is? Why isn't it listed? I don't know. I guess you can't use it for anything other than an airflow meter, right? Well, I mean, if I can't use it, if it's not there, I can't use it for anything. There's no point it staying over there, is it? Oh, no, 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 pull that one out. Well, I mean, I asked too many questions. That's my problem. Why do you have to know that? Well, I mean, why aren't I allowed to know that is more the question. Come with me. Let's get out of here. You don't do anything anymore. So, goodbye. There it goes. We'll keep that. We can always put it back. I know how to do it. Next up is yellow and green. It should be on P5. So, just gonna peel that back a bit. There it is. Yes, it is. P5 was for the VSV. I don't have the VSV anymore because Goodbye. As I was saying, P5 is for the VSV. I don't have the VSV anymore because I have ITBs. P5 is auxiliary 5. Here it says auxiliary 5 is to be used as a stepper motor. I don't even know what auxiliary outputs are for. Any function requiring an output activated. Fine, we'll leave it there. aux5 was set to boost solenoid. I turned that off. Batteries are dying in things, but to get you up to speed, I found this plug that fits the same pins, and it holds 6. So I've got the oil temp sensor along the bottom and the crank angle sensor across the top, and it plugs in there the same way. Beautiful. I try to come up with some kind of elegant way to do the pull-up resistor. So I've put my resistor in line here, feed the heat shrink across, and I'll just cover that, and then I'll solder this on here and then put heat shrink over the top of the two. If this comes off, I'll be in trouble. Did it work? Yes, I'd say that did, yeah. So feed these two in here. Okay. It's not hot enough to burn me, it's not hot enough to do damage. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. Bit of an update, this is where we're at. I've got it nice and neat. My wires are going over there to my new plug. Pull-up resistors in here, nice and straight where it's not going to bend. I've got to get it back in here. This is a lot of work just to install an oil temp sensor. See how having the flexible center tape is really helpful? There's no way I could do this with a regular roll of tape. It wouldn't go through this area here. Just couldn't do it. So last night I worked until 2 AM, I got it all finished, and then I woke up and realized I did this wrong. I wasn't supposed to run the 5 volts all the way down to the sensor. I didn't need to. I could have cut it off after the resistor. So I'm going to undo it all again. Why? Couldn't you just leave it like that? Yes, I could. And it won't hurt anything. But I don't really want 5 volts running down to the abyss. I don't need it there. But it doesn't hurt anything. Yeah, but it's in my head now, and I know I've done it wrong. There's an extra wire running down there that doesn't need to be there, so I have to fix it. This is my OCD. I'm not going to be happy with it until it's fixed. The other thing that I ended up doing was I had 3 wires coming together, and then I wanted to connect them to a plug, which I later decided that was a bad idea. Because if I ever have to replace the crank angle sensor, I'll have to de-pin this, de-pin the new sensor, remove the oil temp sensor wiring from the crank angle sensor wiring, and then redo all of that for the new sensor. Dumb. On top of that, I'd have this plug here, and then another plug down the bottom for the actual sensor. Stupid. So the crank angle sensor is back on OEM spec, and I ran 3 wires together down to the oil temp sensor location ready for the plug. But as I just said, that's also wrong because I only need 2 wires going down there. Because I was trying to wire in with a plug for the crank angle sensor, I didn't use pins, I used wires that already had pins on them, if that makes any sense. Joined the two together So that was one join, and then that went to the plug. After I decided I didn't want them in the plug anymore, I cut the wires off and joined longer wires to it to eliminate the plug, if that makes any sense. Now that I have to pull this all apart again, I'm actually going to remove the join section, if that makes any sense. This plastic cover covering the wiring harness is not supposed to come off. I've had it off like 3 or 4 times in the last 24 hours. Now, I'm not going to rage. This is completely my fault, and I've woken up with the drive to fix it. I need to leave the camera on in case I stab myself with a screwdriver or something. I put this down to being tired. It was very late at night. I don't think I was thinking properly. I've been driving all day. Excuses, excuses. I'm just useless. Don't let me work on your car. Why don't you become a mechanic? Because I'm useless. Imagine if I did this to somebody else's car. I wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning and go, oh crap, whoops, shouldn't have done it that way. The hood latch keeps jabbing me in the stomach, and then when it's not jabbing me in the stomach, it's grabbing hold of my hoodie in some location. Sometimes it grabs hold of the hood strings. Then I stand up, put tension on the hood strings. Then it lets go of the hood string, and the hood string smacks me in the face. I think we'll just do this. They're a little bit shorter. Doesn't matter. This is not the only join. There's another one down in there. So this resistor needs to completely come off, and I'll put it in here. This was my first mistake. This doesn't need to carry on. It could have ended at the resistor. Second mistake was running it the whole way down. Oh, it's coming. Oh, it's coming. It's coming, it's coming. Hey, now getting that back in again is going to suck, but that's a problem for later me. Right. This is a used resistor. I've looked at it under a microscope and it looks fine, but the back of my mind is like, why don't you get a new one? And I don't actually know where to buy them. I might be able to buy them from the hardware store. I think that if I can, I should probably do that. It's 9:30, the hardware store's open. Should I go check? If I can't get it, come back and use this. If you can't buy it easily, then you'll just use this one. Well, why don't you just use this one anyway then? Okay, so I'm back. I wasted my time going to the hardware store. They didn't have shit. I've got that soldered on. I've tested it. It works. So as long as it doesn't bend and snap off one of the ends, it'll be fine. This is how my OCD is. That looks pretty good. So I need to put a piece of heat shrink on it. What is a pull-up resistor? It's a resistor. That's it. That's going to hold it really nice. My OCD even goes this far. See this, how it goes through the middle there? I can't have that. That's not gonna... I can't have it. No. Does it make a difference? No. Can I live with it? No. Even though it goes underneath like that? No. Can't do it. They've got to come from different ways like that. If I put this here, if I ever need to service it, I don't expect it to ever fall off, but if it does, the sensor will stop working. If I need to get at it and it's in here, I will have to pull all this apart again. If it's in here, I just need to pull this up and I'll be able to get at it. So yeah, I think in there's better. If you come up out of there, then I'll be able to do this easier and I'll have a better time. Better, not good, but better. Let's just leave that much poking out the end and we'll tape the brown to the red and we'll pull the red through and that will pull the brown through. Let's go. Doesn't help the brown is wrapped around everything. There we go, it worked. Conduit's like, no, I don't want to have wire inside. What the f? Where's the resistor? There, probably right on the bend. Right where I'm going to try and bend it. Well, as long as it only bends once, it'll be fine. Even the fact I'm using black tape is kind of digging at me. I should be using grey tape because it's OEM colour. It makes no difference, none at all. Feed this back down here and we are where we were this morning, only we're better. So I guess my resistor's right here. It can stay fairly straight, which I'm happy about. Is this going to be the last time I do this? I want to say yes, but probably not. I really like how this looks, but it's kind of pointless for my application, because here's a water temp sensor and there's another one. So I'm going to sell this. I'm going to keep this and use this as an oil temp sensor. They're good to 150 degrees, I hear, so that should be fine. In a stock or slightly modified car, this makes a very elegant way of fitting a water temperature gauge, but the Link ECU I'm using can display the data from the OEM sensor, so there's no reason to have this. Oh, that's great. Yep, perfect. So get that off there. Oh my god, you're using a water temperature sensor for the oil? I just did a Google search and found an old Greddy oil temperature sensor here. It's sold out, but you can see from the picture, this is the same sensor. Gonna get rid of that. Bye. Because the person that's gonna want this is gonna want the one with Greddy written on it. And what are you gonna replace that with? Well, I actually bought the silicon ones. So I got these silicon boys. Right? They're a bit weird looking. I haven't actually tried to fit them before. Do you want CMS up or CMS down? I think I want, well, I don't think it's possible to have CMS up. Well, they really screwed the pooch on that one, didn't they? They put all their branding on the wrong side. I like that their branding is underneath. That'll work. Okay. It's one piece, it's black. I do like the metal though. I figure it's economically more intelligent to just dump all of the coolant now rather than doing it again later to swap out the bottom hose. Okay. The bottom hose is out. I can't actually see if that's all the way on, but I can if I use a light, and it looks pretty damn good. Don't confuse me with somebody that knows what they're doing. I figured out that I need to make it this long, exactly the same length as that, for it to be nice. I was able to purchase this plug and pin set online for a few bucks, but I don't remember where. Be sure to drop all the pieces on the ground. Right, okay. We are crimped. We'll bring our little rubber thing up and put it in there. Then we load it into here. Just give that a little bit of a squeeze. Don't want to go too wild with it. And that looks pretty good. And again, let's load this into our crimper so we don't drop it. Breathe heavily as f. That's in there. Get this in here. Into the crimper, just give it a little bit of a squeeze. Yep, that's good. The question, left, right, right, left, is it polarity driven? Does it even matter? The answer to that is a no, it doesn't matter. This thing just works on resistance, so it doesn't matter which side you put to what. That's in, that's in. Put the little yellow thing in that doesn't actually matter. There we go, clicked in place. Wrap the whole kit and caboodle in electrical tape. Oh, I think I got it. Oh wow, that's great. That's really, really good. Happy with it the first time. Imagine that. Man, I'm happy with how that turned out, really. It is impossible to show you, but I mean the fact you can't see it's the point, right? So underneath at the moment, just got this plug hanging out here. Unlucky for me, Toyota decided they didn't need a oil temperature sensor, so I have to install my own one, but lucky for me, there's this port here that I can use. You're gonna need a size 8 Allen key. Find Allen's keys and get Allen's keys off him. Now I don't know if oil's going to come out of this when I undo it. Holy shit. That's tight. Of course it's tight. Something so easy as just simply install this. Entering with a breaker bar. Let's see if we can't ruin this real quick. Oh, ho, 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 ho. That was not good. I don't think I've ever seen a grub screw snap in half, but I mean, today could be the day. Hey, oil doesn't come out. Okay. Well, that's convenient. Could be that there's not much oil in it. To use a temperature sensor in this hole, you're going to need this fitting here. I got this from a company called Motorfix. You can probably find it in your hardware store. I'll put up the details for it in the description. So that goes into the hole, and then this goes into that. Okay, cool, yep, all right, simple. Well, I don't know what the torque setting for this is, but I guess it's just going to be f***ing tight. What is it, a 17? It's whatever the hell this is. It's not marked. I think it's a 17. Jesus. I didn't even check to see if this is the right thread. I'm just forcing it in here. I hope it's the same. It doesn't really look the same. I might be ruining it. Just because I bought it from a company that says it fits, I should definitely not just assume that they were not idiots. But they're not idiots. There we go. It's fine. Let's try that again. Round 2, electric boogaloo. That's pretty damn tight. Yeah, I'm saying that's good enough. Need to get the old thread tape off here and put on some new shit. I'm going to use some of this Permatex thread sealant. Just need a bit of that on there if it ever comes. There we go. I'll make sure you get it all over your fingers. That's good. Feed that in there. 14mm. Give it some twists. And then watch it spit all of your oil all over the road when you drive down the street for the first time. Now you just need to deal with the cable that comes off it. Step 17, jack up your car. That's a little bit sketchy. The old concrete block trick. Right. And then we go down on the concrete blocks. And we'll leave the jack here so that it can be nice and in the way. The best route away from the belts. So what about between these two? Like that. That'll work. There's our wiring. Goes through there and over to our oil temperature sensor. But it doesn't end there. You still have to set it up in the software. This tune I have here was sort of sculpted by someone for me from the basic OEM Altezza tune that Link offers for free. So we're going to go to ECU settings on the side here and click analog inputs. Now you might remember earlier I said that we used AN Volt 4. Well, AN Volt 4 isn't specifically for a temp sensor like the AN temp channels are. As you can see, the software shows 4 temp channels available. 1 is for coolant temp, 2 is for intake air temp, 3 is ambient air temp. I'm not sure what the ECU would do if you reassigned that, and it's nice to have all the OEM functions, so we'll just leave that alone. And 4 is only actually available with the add-on cable that Link sells. So we turned AN Volt 4 into a temp channel when we added that resistor. Now, why did you choose AN Volt 4? Well, that's because the first time I checked the software, AN Volt 2 was being used. I didn't take the time to confirm if it was being used by something I actually had or not. I assumed that the person that set up this tune would have removed all the things that were no longer being used. Evidently not. Now that you and I know that AN Volt 2 isn't being used, you could just as easily use AN Volt 2 if you want. I'm on AN Volt 4, it works, no problem. Now for the actual setup. So go to ECU settings on the side here, click analog inputs, should be right there. Double-click function and set it to GP Temp EXT Pull-Up. That stands for General Purpose Temp Sensor External Pull-Up. External pull-up is the resistor that we added earlier. The temp channels have that already built in. You need that or it won't work. Add a label to it. We'll get to calibration in a minute. Error low at 0.05 volt will be fine. Error high at 4.95 volts will be fine. Error value, well, you set that wherever you want. I guess 130 is kinda high, but I don't really know. Okay, calibration. You need to tell the software how the sensor reacts to temperature. To do that, you'll need a table of temp versus resistance. Cal Table 2 wasn't being used, so I chose that. How did I know it wasn't being used? Go to ECU settings, then analog inputs, and click the Cal table you want to look at. Anyway, okay, Cal Table 2. Label it. Input units needs to be ohms. Output units could be Celsius or bald eagles, up to you. Output table start, 0 degrees seems to be fine. Output table increments, 10 degrees is fine. And then we have Cal 2 table. Double click that. I have the temperature across the top and then the value of resistance underneath. I hope my oil doesn't go below 0 degrees. You need to enter in the resistance value your sensor has at each temperature. You can find these values for a limited number of sensors on the net. Mine wasn't one of them, of course, but lucky for me, a legend named JP had the values and was kind enough to share them. If you're not so lucky, then using a multimeter, a thermometer, and some water, you can cool down and heat up the water to get the resistance values you need. I actually did this before JP gave me the values, and what I got was very, very close. It's quite difficult because the temperature is always moving, and trying to see the temp and resistance at the same time can be tricky. But it can be done. Thanks again to JP. And after you've done all of that, hopefully you should have a working oil temperature sensor connected to your Link ECU. But we're still not done. Now you need to display the thing. So right click on some open space on the screen and then click New View. Then choose what kind of gauge you want. Let's go with a dial gauge. Click Analog Inputs. Scroll down to AN4 and double click it. That will make it show up on the right over here. Click OK. And then I was done. I found this really difficult to do, even with all the documentation and everything. I found a couple of videos online, but they're quite long-winded, just like this one. So for a quick how-to of everything I did here and more, check out this video.